Cool. So anyone who is watching on Patreon and or maybe watching eventually on YouTube gets to see our ugly mugs in person. Woohoo.
Speak for yourself.
I said I was talking about all myself.
Oh, your many, many lives.
Yes, indeed. All right, gentlemen, I guess let's get Christmassy and get started. I know Mr. Brown is dying to talk about this. I hope. So let's open this in a new window. So there's my notes. All right. So unedited version. Here we go. The Discussing Network presents Discussing Who, a Doctor Who podcast. I am Kyle Jones, and I want to start by welcoming Clarence Brown. Clarence, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. And as always, glad to be back recording some Doctor Who with you guys.
Awesome. Well,
with the fam.
Yes, indeed, with the fam. Absolutely. And who would complete the fam this week? Lee Shackleford. Mr. Shackleford, how are you?
Very well, very well. Apart from it being hot where I am, I think I even look sweaty on the Zoom, but our air conditioner is best.
So that was going to be my next question. Some wibbly wobbliness let us know that your air conditioner wasn't working. So it's still on the fritz.
Yes, but at least we now know what the problem is, and some friendly chap is going to come around tomorrow and fix it. Anyway,
cool.
But I have friends out west who tell me that tomorrow in Phoenix, Arizona, it is prophesied that it will be 118 degrees in Phoenix. Wow. So I personally that makes me want to not complain. Could be worse.
So for everyone listening to our audio version of this episode, which I'll see, for everyone seeing this, you see me go, blah, blah. But this is new for me. I am so not used to seeing ourselves. So I'm actually looking at Clarence and Lee, and this is kind of interesting, a new dynamic after 5 years of not seeing each other. Yeah, but not like real, like couple of weeks in a row. So this is interesting.
That's right.
But you know what's also interesting, considering what we are getting into on episode 240. I mentioned Sarah Warren and some of the feedback she gave to a town called Mercy. And oh crap, I am like totally off my game here. So speaking, so we do have some feedback. I mean, I'm telling you guys, my brain is like fried all of a sudden. All right.
This may take a while.
It may.
This is how the sausage gets made, folks.
Exactly. So speaking of feedback, well, I didn't speak of feedback. So bring me in. You were saying something about it being really hot, and
yes.
So before we cool ourselves off with a Christmas Yuletide festive episode, I will say that we have some feedback, and it is specifically follow-up feedback to something that I mentioned that Sarah Warren had said, and she actually reached out with an apology to you, Clarence, because she felt bad about what she had said about Clara, and she wanted to just let you know. She actually reached out today and said that she felt bad and to apologize to you on her behalf. But as we watch these episodes again, she loves Jenna Coleman, but there is a moment that she stopped liking Clara, but she is going for you to give Clara another chance. So
yeah, that's the fight we have, the war I have to fight with you guys, because I know it gets up to a point to where, Clara is not your favorite anymore, and I definitely understand it. So no grudges held there.
And the difference between the character and the actor also. We love Jenna Coleman.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But before we get into it, one thing that I want to remind myself and remind you guys is we've had some feedback recently from a gentleman who is watching Doctor Who for the first time and listening to us as
Right.
he's watching that. So I'm reminding myself, but I'm also reminding you guys before I say what I love to say is remember, we know things about Clara, but he does not yet. So as
Right.
we're reviewing this, just a reminder that there's a certain thing called spoilers. And speaking of spoilers, if you have not seen the Snowman or Snowmen, not the Snowman, this is not Frosty. If you have not seen the Snowmen, put us on pause, go out, watch the episode, come back because from this moment forward, Lee Shackleford's in a television and spoilers.
What is this, One Division all over again? What
This
are
is
we
one.
doing?
This is Lee Vision.
This is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Is what he thinks I'm cute. This will only make sense to the people seeing this on video.
Yes, indeed. Alrighty, the spoiler warning has gone out and we are back to review The Snowmen. This is the 2012 Doctor Who Christmas special airing on the 25th of December 2012. It starred Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor and welcomes Jenna Coleman as Clara. Some review, Lee Shackleford, I will start with you. Some review, what say ye?
Well, I enjoyed it quite a lot. I had forgotten that it's not just a Christmas story. It's also an episode where we get to hear the magnificent voice of one of our favorite actors, even though he's not on camera, and the return of an actor who's played the Doctor, but this time as a villain, and the Paternoster gang, and a miraculous looking special effect that was a landmark in the episode,
I
even
thought he
though
was about to say Jenna
didn't-
Coleman.
didn't not to say Jenna Coleman. Yeah. So, and I love all Doctor Who stories that take us into Victorian England, and there are a few of them, right? So, and so you get that too. So, what's not to love, really?
And you didn't even mention what I thought you would have mentioned first.
Mm.
Sherlock.
Well, yeah, and that's part of the whole Victorian thing to me. They cannot go there without somehow referencing Sherlock Holmes. And so we now have an in-canon explanation for Sherlock Holmes. So in the Doctor Who universe. So
There you go.
brilliant.
Clarence
All
Brown.
those things really happened. They just didn't happen to him. Okay.
Clarence Brown. What say ye? You are muted, Clarence
Muted.
Brown. You have been muted to the glory of the Centaurian Empire.
I really enjoyed this episode. Pulled on all the heartstrings. Man, it seems like Clara might have a fate as bad as Rory's, but we're only 2 episodes in with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they just felt very fairy tale-y to me. A lot of fairy tale elements as far as the whimsical nature of some of the things we saw on screen. That great special effects that we've talked about for the past 2 weeks. And overall, I just felt like, and I say this a lot, but I do feel like it was fun at times, very heartfelt as well. And the addition of Jenny and Vastra and Strax was just amazing. They're always great. Fun stuff with them, and overall, I really had fun with this, as well as I said again, some emotional points as well. But overall, I enjoyed it.
I absolutely loved this episode. I had forgotten how good this episode was. I literally had forgotten how good this was. It checked all the boxes. And it did what Christmas episodes of Doctor Who that work for me do, is it makes it Christmas, but doesn't make it Christmas. It's not that Christmas is the end all be all, end of all, this is what's happening. It's part of the tapestry of the story, but it doesn't overwhelm the story. And I loved that. Now, what I really liked was they made me like this version of Clara. I was excited to have this version of Clara as the companion. No offense to what comes later for the character, but this character that died, I was sad to see that happen. And I liked her from the moment that she set foot on the scene. It was like, okay, how did this Victorian person from the 1800s wind up in the future in space? And that was what my brain was trying to process. So yes, loved this episode. But let's start at the beginning, specifically the new title sequence. And Clarence, thoughts about this new sequence? And I know the music and the look isn't always your forte, so that's why I'm pointing it to you. Curious.
Well, maybe we should skip me because I didn't even watch it.
You blaspheme.
I didn't even watch it.
Who doesn't watch the Doctor Who theme?
I walked away, man. Oh, my bad.
This episode of Discussing Who no longer features Clarence Brown.
I'm fired.
You're whipped. No, seriously. Okay, Lee, since Clarence was incapacitated at the time, what did you think of
remember kind of going, huh, when I saw this the first time, because for the first time, well, the shapes are very non-specific, that for a long time we've had this tunnel that we're going down, and now we're not having that, which of course takes us back to the beginning, right, to the first, second, third. The tunnel is actually kind of a late introduction, and we get the Doctor's face back in it, which we haven't done since
Sylvester McCoy.
The TV movie has the Master in it,
yes.
Right? It has his eyes in it anyway. So that was interesting, and I don't know. I just thought it's different. It was definitely a change, and I thought a welcome one. It just makes you sit up and go, "What is this? Oh, it's interesting." So
yeah, I echo everything you just said, and I was most excited about seeing the face. They could have been humming it in the background, and the face was like exciting because it was like finally the face again. So that's
not too long. It's just
yes, just there, and you miss it. If you get up, you miss it. So. But I want to talk about, since we're talking about the new title sequence, and you guys mentioned, and we've been talking about this scene where Clara and the Doctor go into the TARDIS, and we see the new TARDIS interior for the first time. So Lee, tell us, what was it about this scene that caught your attention? And Clarence, follow up after Lee, please.
I almost blush to admit this, but I had to read somebody on social media saying, and in this episode, of course, the team finally got to do something that surely they've always wanted to do, starting in 1963. We started with a solid view of the exterior of the TARDIS, followed somebody without cutting the camera, without cutting all the way into the interior of the TARDIS, which theoretically, from TV terms, is impossible. But we're with the impossible girl, right? So, and reading that made me realize how completely I had bought into the illusion of what we're watching, because even as sort of special effects hip as I am, that I'm always on the lookout for things like that, I didn't question it when I saw it the first time. I guess I just thought the camera is right behind Clara and we're just following her, so we just see what she sees. But wait a minute. We out in the audience know that those are two separate realities. You can't just coast from one to the other, but we did. And it is a beautiful thing. So
Clarence.
Everything that Lee just said, in addition to just all the effects leading up to that point, I felt were brilliant as well. I mean, they made the notion of climbing a ladder and then a stairwell into the clouds.
Right.
I know it's not real, but I never was like, "Oh, that's stupid." I was like, "Oh,
Right.
this is nice. This is beautiful."
Mhm.
And yeah, just leading into that shot was another bit of a brilliance where you're just like, "Huh? How did they do this?"
You want to know how they did that? In part, is a testament to Jenna Coleman. Her acting sold the stairway. Her acting sold pulling the ladder out of thin air.
Mhm.
She sold
I
that
agree.
to me.
Yeah.
Although she should not have been able to reach that ladder, if you ask me, because Matt Smith is 6 foot tall. He had to jump up to get it,
Yeah.
and she's 5'2".
Hmm.
So,
And wearing a dress with a bustle. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And a corset. Yeah. I sort of I questioned that too, but that's
yeah, minor
it's
detail.
a quibble.
No,
Yeah.
I
And
have an explanation.
well, didn't the doctor as much as say later on that he actually cheated it for her? I mean, he
Well,
made
he
sure
gave
that
her the
he
The
gave her the
umbrella.
the
umbrellas.
umbrella so that she could pull down.
Mhm.
I say that the TARDIS extended it so that she could get it because it was meant to happen.
Gave her a little help there. I'll buy
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But do we know why we have a new TARDIS interior now?
I think that a lot of time has passed. You can't
Hmm.
ever tell it by looking at him, but I mean, it's going to be a long time before we can see it on him. But I get the feeling that after losing Amy and Rory, um, he really had. Well, Clara says sulking. I think he has gone off to sulk for a long time.
Mm.
And I think that Moffat wanted to have a distinction between the Pawns and Clara
Mhm.
and the aesthetic look, because this is a change in the theme changed some,
Right.
the intros changed some, the tweed jacket was gone
Yep.
from that point on, and so too was the TARDIS interior. Now I will go on record and saying right now that this version of the interior that we see for the first time is my favorite 2005 forward version. I love this. Now what we see with the 12th Doctor variation, I'm cool with it too, but I love this version. It seems cool, crisp. I just really like it. So
And I'll agree with you, except flipping those last two. This is my second favorite interior until we get to Peter Capaldi's.
apologies.
I guess the in real life answer to the IRL answer, Clarence, I think is they wanted to sell some more toys.
True.
So
Yeah,
that's why he's got to get a new costume and
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's coming up on the 50th anniversary, and that other TARDIS didn't gel as well for a bigger cast. Maybe,
maybe.
maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know, but
But it also feels like we mentioned all these things that are getting redone and rebooted, so to speak. It feels as grand of, even though this may not be the real introduction to Claire. this feels like a grand of a start as it did when we first saw Matt Smith with the fairy tale introduction to Amy. It's kind of the same thing.
That's true. And
see,
Moffat is on record. He says many times that he thought of the series as being a fairy tale, and those are the stories he wanted to tell.
it's interesting. You both keep bringing up fairy tale. I didn't feel fairy tale-ish with this. I just enjoyed it. I mean, seriously, I didn't. I felt there was a lot of aspect of Amy that was fairy tale, and I would go easily say it was fairy tale. This I didn't feel. I just thought it was good. Just
Yeah.
bottom line, it was
Well,
good.
the two are not exclusive, but yeah.
No. But still, it was just good.
I think the fairy tale aspect is that we are once again, one of the things that Moffat really wants to adhere to from the RTD era, I think, is that at Christmas we're going to take something that is sacred to Christmas, and it's going to be evil. So we have killer Christmas trees and, and killer decorations and killer robot Santas and so on and so on. So this time we hadn't gotten around to snowmen yet, had we?
But here we do.
So, yeah.
So we keep talking about Clara, and I want to just finish our conversations on Clara before we get into the other. And I want to talk about first Clara's first introduction that we see of our first version of Clara Oswald in the episode. And Clarence, I'll start with you. As introductions go, how did you feel this introduction to that version of Clara, seeing her in the bar, running out, meeting the doctor? What were your thoughts watching this again?
Oh, so good. It's her curiosity is what makes it so much fun. She's not willing to let the doctor just, impress her and leave and run off. She's like so curious and obviously from the jump, she would, even if you haven't seen anything else of her, you think, oh man, she's going to be an awesome companion just by her curiosity and her willingness to engage. And as we see later on in the episode, how smart she is and on point with the situation. So yeah, just as an introduction, I loved every second of it. I loved her quippiness, and I thought it was pretty grand.
So Lee, I'm going to edit my question just a little bit for you. We've often made reference, you and I, to not having any historical based companions since 2005 forward. They've all been present day companions. Do you remember watching this back and seeing this introduction of an 1800s character? What were your thoughts? Were you excited about non-current?
Yes. Right. I was saying, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please. Yeah, because this is as close as we could get to going back and getting Vicky.
Well, yeah.
Although you could also say, didn't we do this with Vicky? So, I mean, haven't we already had a Victorian girl in the TARDIS? So, but... it's a new series. That was a long time ago, and everything that Clarence said, I can't agree more. I feel like that I am transporting into the character of the Doctor as I'm watching this, and I'm watching how smart she is, how courageous she is, how adept she is at handling with weird situations. That she's just taking these things on board as fast as she can. Okay, that's how that works now. Now I know. We see that she's leading a double life. So we know there's a lot more to her than we can tell from, and we haven't even, found out yet that she's the impossible girl.
Right.
He hasn't connected that up yet. And I had to remind myself, he didn't see Souffle Girl. He doesn't. No. We know what she looks like. But he doesn't. Oh, yeah. That's why he isn't recognizing her the minute he sees her.
And you wouldn't automatically remember a voice.
No. So, yeah, he's like, yeah, he's this close to Strax, who calls her a boy. He doesn't know. But that moment where he hands her the key, out in the audience, I thought, yeah, that's what I'd do. I know we've just met, but you're the one. Let's go.
So let's back up just a little bit. You mentioned Strax. So what did you think of seeing Strax, Jenny, and Vastra return? Clarence, the three of them back again since the A Good Man Goes to War. What did you think?
It was amazing. I feel like in A Good Man Goes to War, we just got a slight taste of what they could be. But here they're back in all their full glory. And one of the best moments in the episode is when the captain gets introduced to what's going on. And, oh, we're married. And, of course, you have this lizard-looking lady and a human woman. And then you see the potato man over there. And then just a great way to introduce these characters. And they're fun. Strax is so much fun in this episode. And I loved seeing Madame Vastra with, her and going back to the detective type, Sherlock Holmes type stuff, investigating what's going on in their time frame here. So, yeah, they're just so much fun. I could go on. The conversation they had with Clara, just the one word answer, great stuff. It's just they were so much fun in this episode.
Lee?
Yeah, I've got to agree. I really, I don't know if you know, maybe you do know, but the Sherlockian game or the Sherlockian joke is that we know that Holmes and Watson must have been real people because there's books about them, right? But some of the things that Watson describes in his telling the story, we know didn't really happen because they're historical events. So the game that's played now that all the stories are written and Arthur Conan Doyle is dead, is that Watson must have been playing with the facts a little bit, that he's telling us the story kind of the way it happened, but not exactly.
The names have changed to protect the identity.
Exactly. So, yeah. And sometimes Conan Doyle really started this because sometimes Watson will say as much. He'll say, I can't really tell you who this really was, but here's a hint, So Moffat knows that he's a player of the game. So he's taken it a huge step forward. The stories that are getting published in the Strand as our bad guy in this story, what's his name?
Oh, wow. Other than GI, he was
Dr. Simeon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Walter Simeon.
Because I kept thinking he's a monkey.
Yes. Dr. Simeon. Yeah. There's a reference to this. Anyway, the stories that are getting published in the Strand that are about Sherlock Holmes are actually about a green lizard woman from the dawn of time and her wife. So Watson is covering up a lot as he's publishing these stories. Well, it was actually about me and my guy friend, to whom I'm not married, and so on. So anyway, so that's a lot of fun. And we've already heard that she's already dealt with Jack the Ripper and she ate him. So he won't be bothering anybody again.
So why do you guys think that these three, well, other than Jenny's just, a normal human, but you have the lizard lady from the dawn of time, you have Mr. Potato Head, who's kind of been dead and revived and not completely mentally revived. So I would say he is the Le Bichon Frise of Doctor Who, perhaps, maybe.
There you go.
So, having said that, what makes these three oddball characters resonate with fans? Any thoughts? Either?
They certainly have the charm of variety.
Yes.
And to me, the Strax joke just never wears thin.
No.
That he's a genetically created warrior, and that's 90% of what his mind is. But he's in debt to the Doctor, and he's trying, I guess, to be a good person.
As best he can, for the glory of the Centauran Empire.
Right, so he'll say, yeah, later we'll destroy you for the glory of the Centauran Empire. May I take your hat and coat? I just never get tired of that.
Yeah, well, it is such a cool thing for us to have had the opportunities that Discussing Who has presented, because watching this helps me remember, Clarence, you and I have actually met Jenny.
Yes.
And that is so cool now, going back and seeing her again and remember, oh, I met you.
Yeah.
We
have a fine photo of the two of you with her in the middle.
Yes, indeed.
She also is teeny. She's also tiny, isn't she? She's
pretty short.
Yes.
She's not small like Starkey, but
no. And every time we bring her up, I always think of when we saw her, she felt like her time as Jenny was done. Mm-hmm. And somebody asked, what about Big Finish? And lo and behold, like a year and a half later, here came Big Finish. So
there you go.
Kudos to her.
Onward.
So let's move on and talk about, since we're talking about the three of them, I want to mention really quick the one-word test. Clarence, you're shaking your head. Tell me. One-word test. What did you think?
So maybe that's a thing that I just never knew about or heard about, but I just feel like it the way it allowed Clara to choose her words very cho- dig hard to choose the right words for the moment or the right word for the moment. I just felt like it was great. I was chomping at the bit to see how she would answer this in just excellent writing. That's all it was.
Yeah.
How hard would that be to say the right word each time? But she did it, and that's another point that shows you how brilliant she was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think their reasoning was that this would force you to tell the truth instead of being like politicians that ramble on or whatever. The answer might be in there somewhere, but we can put some fluff around it. But with the goal of just giving one word, it really it makes her choose the right thing to say and be concise in what she was trying to convey. So I thought that whole thing, the way it played out, was just beautiful.
Lee?
Yeah, agree completely. I think Clarence has once again put his finger right on it. That it may at first just appear to be a quirk. You think, oh, this is a Silurian thing, I guess. But no, it's very canny if you're trying to find out the truth from somebody, an emotional truth, which I think is what she's after. And yeah, you don't get to prevaricate or hide your meaning behind a lot of words. You got to say this exact thing, and it's a very interesting scene, and I'd completely forgotten about it.
This is something that I've never forgotten about. I may have forgotten everything else that happened in the episode, but this I didn't. And what's made it stick in my head is, you guys know, you've known me for many years now. My thing with words is, I don't like few words. I talk way too much. I write way too much if I try to explain something. One words are hard for me. So that really, 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 really stuck in my head in a cool way, because it made me think. And that's always cool, if it can make you think. So,
Yeah, no, you're certainly not alone in that. I mean, I listen to these episodes and think, for God's sake, Lee, shut up. And I'm using 10 words when one will do, but I'm trying to remember, is it somewhere in the correspondence of Oscar Wilde, one of the people that he exchanged witty letters with, that one of them had written to him, and his closing the letter, he says, "Sorry for the long letter, didn't have time to write a short one." And all of us who write, we go, exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because that's harder. That takes more time.
Yeah.
To be precise. It's harder.
So that sounds like you're saying that people of a certain learned individual, people who have maybe not just a moderate intelligence, but a great intelligence, perhaps?
Yeah, but he talked a lot.
Yeah. So what did you think?
He sounded like Sir Ian McKellen, which is...
Indeed. So, Lee, I'm going to point this one to you first. I did not really know much about GI, the Great Intelligence, when this came on. Because the Web of Fear hadn't been released yet at that time. So when you heard or saw GI, did it ring bells for you?
Yeah, but only because I knew about other stories, some of which are ancillary to Doctor Who canon, about the Great Intelligence. So there was that. But yeah, since now that we actually have access to the story in which that notion is actually introduced, did it strike you as funny that the Doctor seemed to be encountering it for the first time? Is that at the end of this story, he's saying Great Intelligence. It's like he almost remembers, but he has to search for it. And I think it's because it's been a long time.
Oh, was it because he was trying to figure out where he was in the Great Intelligence timeline?
Yeah, I'll buy that.
The reason I say that is, I went back and read chronologically. It says that this meeting with the 11th Doctor is before in the Great Intelligence timeline, is before the Great Intelligence meeting with the second Doctor. So chronologically, this occurs prior to that because the Doctor actually gives the Great Intelligence the idea of going to the London Underground by the
He does say that,
and he shows him the lunchbox.
mm-hmm.
So it's the underground where we see the Great Intelligence.
Web of Fear.
Oh, that's what that meant. I was
Yeah.
like, why are we talking about the London Underground on a lunchbox?
I didn't like that. I want that lunchbox, but yeah, apart from that.
So I have a
Yeah, that's pretty
proposition
cool.
for you guys.
That's pretty cool.
And
so that's why the GI doesn't know, not gastroenterologist, but the Great Intelligence. That's why he doesn't know the Doctor.
Right. And I think there is the Great Intelligence says something in the Web of Fear that is basically a reference of having met the Doctor before.
Wow.
Wibbly wobbly, so cooly woolly.
Now I got to see the Web of Fear, right?
Speaking of, I was actually going to propose to you guys, the only thing is we may need to take a week off of recording. It's a 6th episode. So just FYI, but that would be really cool to do Web of Fear next before we get into possibly seeing the Great Intelligence again at some point in the future. Possibly.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Well, as long as we're talking about the baddies in this story, a moment for Richard E. Grant, who was briefly the 9th Doctor in Scream of the Shalka, which was a webisode, a web series made in 2003, I want to say.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, we were marching up towards the full-on revival of the series, and if that didn't work, then we were going to do animated Adventures of the Doctor, starring Richard E. Grant, and I imagine that, like Michael J. Fox, that there was already somebody whose name was Richard Grant who was already registered, and so when he became an actor, he had to be Richard E. Grant. Anyway, I don't know why the awkward syllable there, but a fine actor. I love the way the Doctor is written in Scream of the Shalka. I don't like the design of the character as he's drawn.
I remember. It almost looks like a combination of a mobster and vampire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Maybe.
There's a little Dr. Morbius kind of touch there, and I just find it off-putting, or a character from Aeon Flux maybe.
Yeah,
but,
it just
anyway, but I had forgotten. I just watched it again because here he is in as Dr. Simeon. So I went back and watched Scream with the Shalka again, and I just love the way he's written. He's so witty and so funny, and he's just cool. He's a cool cat. But anyway, I think that may be one of the reasons why they didn't make more of those, is because people may have just seen the art and said, that ain't the Doctor.
And you fall in the pitfall of having to explain Ninth Doctor, how.
Yeah. So we've ended up with 3 Ninth Doctors as it has happened. Yeah. Anyway,
Clarence,
I want to see this. I have to
what?
seek this out. I haven't seen this.
Yeah, you need to see Scream of the Shalka. It is an entertaining story, and one of the voices in it. There's a young woman who I guess is basically his companion in the story, although she enters and leaves the story a lot. But she's an attractive young African-American woman, and that actress, we'll see her again as Liz 10 in The Beast Below.
Oh, how cool.
And you'll be able to see that their drawing was clearly based on her. So,
wow.
Interesting.
Yes, she too will go on to be in the new series, just as Richard E. Grant was. So, anyway.
So what did you guys think of this Dr. Simeon and this edible snow, and I don't mean edible as in we could eat it, as in edible as in it will eat you, Snow.
Yes.
Clarence?
I promised I would feed you.
Yes. I didn't say to what.
Yeah.
I found that all interesting. I found the fact that I guess this sentient snow can, well, I don't know if it's sentient or not. I can't remember. But anyway, it could read and interpret thought into realization somehow. I'm a little fuzzy on the whole story there. But I do love how we get to the point to where Dr. Simeon believes, and even us up until this point, we believe that this sentient snow or ice is controlling him, but the whole time it is his own thoughts that is driving this being or this thing to just be dark and evil and bad. It's really just him. So I like that twist on the story, and maybe the resolution to it all was a little sketchy, but if you're still playing on the notion that it's feeding on people's thoughts that it's psychically connected to, I guess it all kind of makes some sense.
Lee?
Yeah, I wondered a lot of the same things, and that's a very satisfying conclusion, isn't it? That it really was. It was Simeon all along.
Couldn't resist.
He killed Sparky too. I mean, it was and it wasn't. I mean, what he had was an enabler, I think, and the great intelligence is making it possible for him to manifest these thoughts through the sensitive snow, whatever you'd call it. Yeah, very interesting and very sad too. He's another one of these people who got off on the wrong track as a kid, and then we'll just see them, reduced to nothing at the end. It's like the archaeologist in the pyramids of Mars, right? It's just like this guy never had a chance. Just
Yeah.
See, I never really understood where the snow started and the great intelligence began or ended or whatever. And honestly, the rest of the story of what was going on, I didn't really care. This was one time where I wasn't like wanting to understand the motivation.
Yeah.
It was just like I was fascinated by Clara, and I was already starting in my mind trying to piece together what I thought was going to be a mystery, and I was enjoying Jenny Strax and Vastra. So they were just like byproducts as far as, it's a callback to an ancient, classic villain. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was essential to at least understand a little bit of it, because when it comes to the whole dramatic ending of the tear and all of their emotions of the death making it rain, that just seems stupid if you can't get that one nugget
Fairy
of
tale.
of the transference of their emotions on these on this snow. So I don't know. I get your point though. It was so much fun in the episode. You really didn't have to focus on that at all and still have a great time with it.
So let me ask you.
Intelligence in this episode is here's your SAT simile. The great intelligence is to Snowmen what Prisoner Zero is to the 11th hour. Right? Like, in a way, I don't care. The rest of the story.
Very good.
That's what's going on. But I know we got to do this too, right? We got to.
Very good. Very, very good. So, Clarence, we were talking about the happy moments and et cetera and so forth. When you see the ice creature take her out of the TARDIS, pull her, and she falls to the ground. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, that scene comes directly after the doctor has given her the key, which makes it all the more heartbreaking. She's like, what is this this is me giving in.
Mhm.
What a freaking good line.
Yeah.
And then she just pulled away, and
Right.
my jaw was on the floor like, what? You're not doing this to us. But yeah.
The adventures they were going to have together, the lives that she was going to live. Yeah.
And especially from the perspective of maybe the viewer thinking this version of Clara was supposed to be the companion going forward. You know, this is the second time they have pulled the rope-a-dope on us.
Yes. Yeah. With the same actress, but it's not the same character. Or
So let me say this before you reply, Lee, before I forget it. One thing that I think Murray Gold did that was just brilliant, each one of these characters has their own theme. There's an Oswald Oswald theme, there's this version of Clara theme, and then of course there's Clara's theme. They're the same theme, but different. Each one of them has their own unique rendition-y type sound.
theme and variations.
Yeah. So what did you think, Lee, when you see this fall to the ground? What were you thinking at that point?
I had forgotten how this ends. So I was thinking about how many times we've played this game with River where she'll throw herself into space, once literally, knowing that he will swoop up and get her. So we know it's possible. He can run back in the TARDIS and be down there before she is. And he just doesn't. He didn't. And I don't know if it's because he can't or what. I can't believe that it's because he won't. But I mean, he's fallible like a human. I think he just got paralyzed. He's just watching it happen and he can't believe it.
And then it had happened and it was a fixed moment because it was in his own timeline.
Yeah. Now it's too late. Yeah, and or is it? Because then they bring her in and there's this talk about how we may be able to give her some life.
But only temporary.
But only temporarily. So. And she says, "Run, you clever boy."
Oh man. Yeah, I gotta give both of those actors like a hand clap because, even in that moment when we know it's probably intimate that she's gonna die, the doctor is still positive. He is still positive that good is going to come of this. We're going to go save the world.
There's got to be a way.
And the beautiful thing about this, and again, here I go with Murray Gold, is you will hear this music again because you know, Clarence, you've made reference to. I keep hinting at things with Amy and Rory, and then there's the build-up. There is music that you hear during that conversation that you two guys were talking about right now that you will hear again at the finale of this series. And when you connect that mentally, hearing it again, it just makes it so much better of how that part of the storytelling goes. It just frames it so cool.
Yeah.
So yeah,
this Christmas special has as part of the score one of the variations of "I Am the Doctor," where he takes it very, very slow, so that you have to sort of be paying. You have to recognize it first to even know what's going on. But it's bum 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 bum. Wait a minute, I know that. Oh yeah, I'm just accustomed to hearing it a lot faster.
So to me, that sounds like the music is thinking what the doctor's thinking. As it picks up its bum, 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 bum.
Can I do this?
Bum.
Yes, I can because I'm the doctor. But
yes, and then bum, 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 bum. Yes.
Exactly.
All right. So, gentlemen, I do have one last thing. The second introduction, and Clarence, I'm going to point to you because Clarence is Clarence is your favorite. Clara is your favorite. So the second introduction of Clara in this episode, at the end, this to the future we go and see Clara again. Thoughts at that point?
Where she just so happened to be walking by her previous life's gravestone.
Yes.
Now I can't remember if that's like her grandmother or something. I can't remember what the logic is for that. It felt kind of weird to me to see her by the gravestone, but yeah, I guess we didn't get much, but it was cool to see how the direction they're going to take the story in. As the Doctor searches for another Clara, as he sees something ain't quite right with her popping up in his timeline over and over. So,
Lee, what did you think?
Well, we have to end this serial thinking, well, I thought she was going to be the new companion. She's dead again. What? But it is an interesting, this isn't just the usual, he's going to bless somebody with this, with this gift. This is a quest. This is interesting,
And we don't know. And we, the audience, don't know what the belief is going on.
Right.
So, gentlemen, I have gone through all of my notes, and I have to ask, are there any other items that you guys have on your list that we have not discussed?
Kind of a big one from a screenwriting point of view. What do you think about the coincidence? Is it a coincidence that there's a pond that is pivotal to this story, and the Doctor is feigning a lack of interest in all this until the magic word is said, pond? Does that bother you that's because it's not his pond?
Mm-hmm. That's the only part about the one word conversation that I guess that was off screen. They didn't show her saying that because I think Vastra told the Doctor, but I didn't like that. I mean, I know why they did it, and of course that would trigger the Doctor to go investigate, but it felt like a little bit too much.
It's
on the nose, isn't it? It's
no, in my mind, not really, because I can explain it, but I can't explain it now. I can explain it to the three of us after we get off recording, but it was a word that was said because that was what was needed to save the Doctor.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, no, but
also in terms of story logic, I think it's kind of cool that this guy has a body of water that somebody died in, and they keep saying that she's still in there when surely she isn't.
Yeah.
But so that idea, just sort of from a horror fantasy point of view, that is genuinely cool. So getting to that pond is going to be important, but it's heavy-handed that the only reason he goes there is because it happens to be called a pond.
But I think she said that specifically, or that she was there with a body that might have been in a pond, so that was what was needed to save the Doctor. You with me?
But she can do that because she's the impossible girl.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, I can't wait till we get there, actually, because I got questions about that whole thing.
Yeah.
I have to go in there. But before we go in there, my question is, Clarence, any other items for you?
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
All right, then I'm going to point to you, my friend, and ask you, favorite quote. What was your favorite quote?
Oh, man. We didn't talk about the whole flirtatious nature of Clara and the Doctor, which was weird coming off of Amy kind of doing the same thing, but eventually had, Rory along to kind of squash that. But yeah, it felt kind of weird at first. But I love the scene where they're going through the window at the top of the house, and he's pulling her out, and they like fall on top of each other, and he tells her, "You're gonna have to take those clothes off." I'm like, what? No, Doctor, no. I just got a kick out of that.
Were they about to go to church?
What? Spoilers.
Totally over my head.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
So
still in the future.
so what was your favorite quote? Oh, that was your favorite quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
You have to
Lee,
take his clothes off.
what was yours?
Predictably, my favorite line in this episode is, "This dwelling is under attack. Remain calm, human scum."
All right. My favorite quote of a similar vein. It's the human male from the Institute. What's he doing here? I suggest that we melt his brain with projectile acid fish and then interrogate him. Other way around.
Well, while we're doing Strax, I'll offer an honorable mention here. If I ever need the advice of a psychotic potato dwarf, you'll certainly be the first to know.
Or not. No, the whole thing with him bungling the memory worm is one of the most memorable things from a Christmas episode. It's a Christmas special ever, I think. Just love that.
Favorite scene, Lee Shackleford. Favorite scene.
Could you guess? What would be your guess?
Oh, I don't know. Going inside the TARDIS.
Oh, Matt Smith dressed up as Sherlock Holmes. I mean,
Oh,
come on. Yeah. His whole business of saying, "I deduce from your collar something ridiculous." Yeah. No. He apparently thinks it works at random. So he's just saying things. Yeah. I, of course, loved him in Victorian England pretending to be Sherlock Holmes when he knows from the inside that there ain't no Sherlock Holmes. It's Madame Vastra. Anyway.
all right.
Favorite scene.
Clarence Brown.
I like the bow tie mirror scene where he's like, I didn't even know I put this on. And then somebody said, I forgot what the exact wording was. Like, it's cool out here, or something to that effect. He's like, yeah, it is
Yes,
cool.
it is.
Sorry, force of habit.
Oh, Doc.
All right. So this is going to sound morbid, but it's not meant to be. My favorite scene was actually when she died for real and said, run, you clever boy, and remember, for the sole reason of it made my brain kind of melt for a little bit and think, oh, cool, we're about to start a new mystery, a real mystery. And so that has to be my favorite scene. So final rating. Clarence, I'll start with you. Final rating.
I will give this 5 invisible spiral staircases out of 5.
All right. Lee, what say you?
I really remembered that I didn't like this Christmas special at all, and I haven't watched it since it aired. So I was gobsmacked by how much I did enjoy it. It's still not perfect, It's got some things that are missteps or pacing problems somewhere. So I'm going to give it 4.5 bubbles with Sir Ian McKellen's voice in it. So
I can't remember why I was going to say what my rating was, but I don't remember. But if I were to guess, I might say...
Did you wear the gauntlets when you handled the worm?
5 memory worms out of 5. Yes, that's it.
You
Thank
didn't wear
you,
the
sir.
gauntlets.
No, didn't wear the gauntlets. Yep. So that is my final rating, 5 out of 5 memory worms. There you go. All right, gentlemen, where else might you be found on the internet, or what have you been reading or watching? Please, Shackleford, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I gotta start preparing week to week to answer this question, because it's a good one, but it's a great opportunity. But I got nothing. I
have one for you.
Yeah.
If you would like to hear Lee as a romantic lead in a comedy, check out Oz 9, where he plays Pluto, Lord of the Underworld.
You better believe it.
With the season 3 finale right around the corner.
We just recorded episode 59, and episode 60 is the it of it.
It, yes.
I'm sorry, I had an alarm going off there, so I'll say that again. We just recorded episode 59, and episode 60 is the it of it, season 3. And I haven't seen the script yet, but knowing, the way that we who write audio fiction think, there's probably going to be 18 cliffhangers in it. So.
Yep. And with that batch, 19 ways of not getting out of them. So
Exactly.
there you go. All right, Clarence Brown, what are you watching, or where can you be found on the internet?
Yes, I have been watching 2 shows on Disney Plus, one being Loki, which is amazing. I think Doctor Who fans will especially like it.
Brown things on everywhere.
Little timey-wimey. And also I've been watching on Disney Plus The Bad Batch, which is the Clone Wars spin-off series, animated series of everything that happens post Order 66. And I'm loving it. It's great. So 2 great shows on Disney Plus if you have it.
So I have been watching recently. I was just randomly up one night and started watching Kim's Convenience on Netflix. It's this, I think, Canadian comedy. I'm halfway through the first season, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I didn't know anything about it. I just turned it on because I couldn't find anything, but it's actually pretty good. So I'm watching that, and I'm also watching Loki. So
yeah, I've seen probably 10 episodes of Kim's Convenience. The dad off of that show is actually on The Mandalorian. He's one of the X-wing pilots, the patrol.
How interesting.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for everyone who is watching us, thank you for bearing with us and watching us and seeing us behind the scenes of what you normally listen to. But for everyone listening, thank you for joining us. As Lee likes to say,
you didn't have to.
Thank you, sir. You did not have to. And with that, we are glad that you're here, and we will be back next time. Bum, bum.
Yeah.
All right. We are stopping the recording.